Hello everybody and welcome to Amphlett Reviews, back with a Hong Kong content review, continuing on the Lau Kar-leung series. Previously the Cat vs Rat, now we're on to 1983's The Lady is the Boss, starring Carol Hong as our main lead protagonist, alongside the family unit with Lau Kar-leung as a main character himself in this film, starring Gordon Liu and Xiao Ho and many other returning actors from his previous movie. And this one's available to rent on a HD format on Apple TV. You can rent it for about £3.50 on Apple UK TV. So if you guys are curious about checking this one out but don't have access to the DVD, which I think is long out of print, it's not available on Blu-ray as far as I'm aware of. It is available to at least stream and to at least rent on part of the Apple TV, which surprisingly do have a lot of Hong Kong movies, a lot of the hard access ones, and going for quite a reasonable price. You can even purchase them if you really wanted to as a digital format. Being absolutely honest, I did have some reservations about this one. I wasn't too sure what this one was going to offer, being the fact that the last kind of, Carol Hong movie that I saw was My Young Aunt, which I did enjoy that film. It's part of the kind of Arrow box set, but I felt it to be kind of very messy in terms of, it's pulling itself in different directions. This one is essentially a second take on the idea, obviously very different compared to that one was. That was more of a time period movie, as the traditional kind of, Shaw Brothers kind of gimmicky type stuff. This one is quite different. I wasn't too sure what to expect from this film, and I was hoping this film would at least be entertaining. And to my surprise and pure delight, The Lady is the Boss was really, really goddamn good. It was a lot of fun. This was a very good rental. I'm very happy that I managed to check this one out and didn't miss this as part of the Lau Kar-leung series. As you know, it's starting to get a little bit harder to track down some of these films now. And the storyline for Lady is the Boss basically follows Lau Kar-leung. During the start of the film, he's the kind of the mentor, the teacher of this kind of, it's basically academy, this kind of old school traditional martial arts kind of academy. Basically, the original building's going to be teared down, demolished, and they've been basically moved over to a new building where they have new facilities essentially going forward. And through this kind of transitional kind of period, there is the kind of new boss coming in, and they believe it's going to be this kind of grandmaster, this old school kind of, teacher from back in the day, and who they sent instead is the young and hip and very modern thinking Western kind of approach, US kind of base, I guess, of Carl Hong's character, which comes in the most 80s kind of, costume and look and attitude that the film has to go for. And you got this idea of tradition, Hong Kong tradition, self-discipline, self-defense, old school way of thinking, in terms of the look of the costumes and, the punishment and the kind of the harsh language a little bit. Lau Kar-leung's character dishes out to his students, alongside the kind of the family unit, as we know, like, Gordon Liu, of course, is in it. And she's coming in with a modern approach in terms of the 80s kind of feel, the new kind of, MTV kind of forward thinking kind of, attitude towards, Kung Fu. And those kind of cultural kind of clashes do take place in this film. I really wasn't too sure how this film was going to handle these ideas and make it kind of entertaining and kind of, show kind of different points of views. And, what was the ultimate point of this film? What was the ultimate message? Because we've seen what Lau Kar-leung does within kind of his big staple movies, kind of think his traditional kind of family kind of dynamics and his kind of social political ideas. And when he's collaborating with other writers, he's very kind of hands-on with his kind of, his Kung Fu style, his sense of style and the framing and how he wants to portray these kind of characters. And to my delight, this film really balanced all the different ideas they wanted to try and achieve to a really, really good effect. One is an entertaining kind of, martial arts kind of film. It has all the great fight scenes. There's some really amazing fight scenes, especially from Lau Kar-leung, which goes full Terminator towards the third act. He is definitely one of the main characters of this film, and he's having an absolute blast, absolutely for sure. I think he's basically got a bit of an itch after doing Legendary Weapons, and he's great in this film. He's really good, alongside the kind of traditional family unit and the like that kind of actors that we know of. Also, kind of having a chance to kind of show off their characters and have a bit of fun at the same time, while also having a really good, strong performance from Carl Hong, portraying a modern, forward-thinking kind of approach to this kind of idea. And this director, actor, and store coordinator is always trying to innovate. He's always trying to do something different. He's always listening to what the modern zeitgeist is at the time. And you can tell that this is, obviously coming to an end of his kind of Shaw Brothers run. This was the last kind of bunch of movies he was kind of going into doing. And he wanted to try and do more, obviously more fun movies, more comedy, more slapstick. He was definitely having a lot more fun with his kind of movies. Some work, some don't. This is basically Lau Kar-leung saying, okay, Flashdance Footloose and Dirty Dancing. How about I mash them together and put a Hong Kong spin up on it and do some martial arts kind of thrown into there? And that's exactly what the film is. It's literally old school tradition versus new. And how would you approach this kind of, traditional kind of, the headband of the school, the clothing, the style, the stance, the attitude, the discipline, the kind of face, essentially, as the film goes about it. How do you approach that to a new generation? How do you bring in new people into this kind of fold? Because as the film points out quite a few times, is that young people don't have the patience, they don't have the discipline, they don't have the will to basically do this. You have to adapt this to a more modern thinking, but also the old school still is just as good as the new school, and both can learn from each other. And that's one of the things I really loved about the film, is that both are mutually respectful of each other. Obviously, there's a crash, and obviously the film is demonstrating both sides of the coin in terms of kind of like how Cao Hong's character comes in and basically has this very obvious kind of, sports kind of bra, and, has a very different kind of look, and doesn't want to become a master, but wants to become an instructor. Very kind of up-to-date, more forward-thinking version of Hong Kong. And then she wants to expand, she wants to do promotion and bring people in, and appealing to the more modern crowd. Surprisingly as well, also very kind of LGBT friendly and very inclusive of other types of gender and sexuality, which is definitely a big thing part of the 80s, of course. Cao Hong's character wants to include everyone despite of your gender and sexuality, and basically learn you some skill sets. And I like the fact of her approach to some of the characters and her interactions with some of the students that she has during the middle act of the film. This idea of oh, you say it's pointless, oh, you say this is it's a waste of your time, but this skill set, this kind of stance, you practice it hard enough, it's going to give you self-defense. It's going to give you some power. Hey, smacking this wood, it's painful, yes, but it's going to give you arm strength. It's going to give you leg strength. And this idea of, this skill set can be known as a sport. It can be adapted to a useful tool within your modern life. And this is demonstrated through kind of the students and some of the side kind of plot lines that do happen, where they kind of, being taken advantage by these kind of very pervy men and these kind of like, sex clubs essentially. And, they are defending themselves. And as to be expected, obviously, there's some conflict with some rival kind of turf gangster characters that are basically getting quite upset with their kind of customers being beaten up, their kind of employees learning kung fu, and they get involved in this and basically want to show face, and they get pretty aggressive pretty quickly and willing to kind of take out the rival kind of school. They are not a school themselves. They are basically kind of just sleazy kind of business owners. A really funny little sequence, the fact that she goes to a crash sequence and basically blames the people for dying for not having enough reflexes, and saying, hey, 20% off if you join our class, and just try and promote it on a local news. That's really funny. Having, kids reenact kind of like a Rocky type sequence, which is quite funny as well, to basically say, hey, you want to see more of this? You want your kids to be like this? Hey, 20% off, join our club. And just doing this really kind of out there kind of promotional campaign, which I thought was a really little funny section of the film. One of the scenes I absolutely loved was when Cao Hong's character said, like, we need to get you guys changed, we need to get you guys some fashion. And they do this little shot sequence where they kind of show them all in this kind of get-up, basically looking like fucking 80s kind of pimps, essentially, which is really funny. But Gordon Liu's characters had hair for most of this film. I don't know if it was meant to be a wig, I'm not too sure, but the fact that he goes completely bald within this kind of lineup and puts the glasses on, oh, it just killed me. It's so funny with the music as well. It's so goddamn funny. The fact you got disco sequence as well. You got kind of like dance fights. I think it was really good as well, and good use of that as well. It ends on kind of a gymnasium kind of location. I thought it was really funny. And Lau Kar-leung goes full Terminator, busting through the window, jumping on trampolines and just kicking some serious ass. He's having a lot of fun in this film. And there's some really cool callbacks and very deliberate kind of nods to his previous films, being the fact that two of his actors played previous roles within two of the movies. Gordon Liu just shows up as the 36 Chamber monk character, which I think was really funny. And then to my surprise, Xiao Ho's character just shows up in a full uniform as the Mad Monkey for Mad Monkey Kung Fu. I thought that was really funny and really on the nose and really deliberate. Overall, my thoughts and opinions on The Lady is the Boss is a really, really fun time from start to finish. This was a lot better than I expected. This film just worked for me a lot more than compared to some of his other kind of Comedies, I thought this one had a bit more restraint compared to some of the kind of more slapstick comedies. This is more of a traditional kind of, you know, hey, I've got a message, I've got an idea, I've got a series of kind of escalations and kind of structure I want to kind of demonstrate. I want to kind of show the old school, I want to show the new school, I want to show cultural clash, I want to show more modern thinking with LGBT kind of, you know, representation being positively done in the film. This idea of kind of a positive, you know, the young generation missing out on skill sets that could help them in self-defense or in situations they might need, while also being an entertaining film, while also having callbacks to his previous films, while also having great performances alongside from his, you know, family unit, and of course Lau Kar-leung just having an absolute blast. You know, being kind of a really fun character in the film, and just having a brilliant fight sequence towards the third act of the film. Kara-hong's probably one of my absolute favorite performances of her. Definitely a powerhouse in this film, really kind of demonstrating how good of a performer she is. Having a mixture of kind of like her traditional kind of dialect in English, I thought was quite a good take, being the fact that she's from the US, being the fact her kind of forward thinking and her attitude and her kind of skill set is really kind of shown, not just as a performer, but also as a fighter. I think is great in the film, and also just everyone's having a really fun time, and it's really entertaining from start to finish, and that's the most important thing. Really happy I got a chance to check this one out, and yeah, hopefully the next one will deliver alongside it as well. So meantime, guys, Amphlett Reviews, signing out.